piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen.
Hi, yes, hello. Welcome to the Red Intermission. I have some good news, I have some bad news, and I have some content warnings.
Just a couple.
Just a few. Actually, I want to get started because we've got a lot of revelations to bring to you tonight. And so I'm going to save a lot of my gushing for the end. Because we're probably going to need to decompress and subsequently gush. So Samara and I were talking about the bittersweet feeling of finishing telling the story. So I think we're all gonna feel it out together later. But bad news, this is the last episode of the Red Intermission. Good news, this is nowhere near the last episode of this fucking storyline. And so everybody get out your calendar apps. Next week, 7 days, the reintroduction of Wrath and Tears, the Van Horsts will return. We are moving a week early because of logistics, which we will talk about another day. But we wanted to make sure that you got your fix. So the content warnings for tonight are going to be more than zero. We're going to talk a lot about faith tonight, and how it feels and how it affects a person. So if you are a person for whom conversations about faith and God and stuff like that hit you harder than another person, stay for as long as it's fun, as we've always said.
And then go make your pizza rolls.
Yeah, go make some pizza rolls. You'll be great. Don't you worry about it. Everything will be fine. We will be here when you get back. We're also going to talk a lot about war. What is it good for? Narrative backdrops. So
that's about it.
Yeah. So a large portion of tonight's story is going to take place during World War I. And those of you that have watched every episode of the Red Intermission are probably sitting a little bit more upright in your seat right now. So we are not going to discuss expressly the extremely complicated and intricate military maneuvers of the part of World War I we're going to be looking at, because the military maneuvers are not important. It is the time and the vibe. So,
and is it a vibe?
And it is impossible to overstate the horrors of World War I. And we are going to be using the horrors of World War I as a method to create a feeling and a mood. So I'm going to do the thing that I do with words, with trenches and the people in them. So yes, please take care of yourself correctly. I think that's about it.
And your standard with the Red Lady, body horror, hallucinogens, manipulation, cult stuff.
Yes.
C cult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of the normal stuff, plus with a crunchy candy shell. So
it's like a gas mask.
So yeah. Actually, one thing I'm going to say, there is a book called Wasteland by W. Scott Poole. It is available on Amazon, and it is about how World War I created, affected, and shaped the modern horror genre. And it's good as hell, and it's what I'm going to listen to tomorrow at work for the 9th time. So that's it for the top for me. Samara, is there anything that you want to add before we do this thing one last time?
I think we covered everything. Ben did a pregame check-in with me, as I am a very religious person, and I am okay with all of this terrible business we are about to embark on.
Yeah. The religion, the way we're going to be talking about faith and religion is going to be really clear in like the next 5 minutes, and so don't. If you're here in 5 minutes, you'll be good for the rest of the episode. But all right. So I think we're good.
Let's do it.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the lights are flashing. The intermission is getting ready to end. But there are a few more horrors left to entertain you before a curtain rises. Tonight, for this small piece of your pleasure, we are going to tell you a story about the Red Lady. Pay close attention to the language we use in this episode. I think that you will find some interesting clues and revelations. So, there is a high-pitched, ragged noise in your ears. It is wet and ragged and metallic, and it hurts inside you. It is in your ears, and it is in your mouth and your throat and your stomach. And it is only whenever your vocal cords start to tear and you feel the damage do you realize it is you. You do not know where you are in this moment. All you feel is the place inside you that is empty. You are by yourself for the first time ever. There is no voice guiding you. There is no choir of your brethren guiding you. It is silent in your head. There is nothing there but a void. And it is terrifying. You are first, your senses start inside you. You feel the body that you're inhabiting to be in this place, and the skin that you've wrapped around it to go amongst the humans. And you remember vaguely a sense of a goal or an objective. You were doing something, but the reason is gone. The why, the how, the what, everything is missing. And all that is inside you is the scream, and your weak illusion lungs are running empty. When the noise finally stops, the rest of the world pushes in around you. The sounds of shelling and of screaming and of the strange, wet, crackling noise that is the failure of the walls of a trench, and the gurgling screams of men drowning in liquid mud and filth. That's right. That's where you are. You are covered in blood. You are sticky with it. Your hands, your arms from your fingertips to your elbows are crimson. The rest of you is splattered with it, but considering the day that you just had, it doesn't surprise you, nor does it particularly show up underneath the filth of this terrible fucking place. In this moment, oh creature, who are you and where are you?
In this moment, the divine angelic being that they are inhabits the form and function of Lieutenant Alexander Ingalls of the British Royal Forces. And he is knee-deep in a half-collapsed trench. And around him are bodies of his men and Germans and a few Frenchmen. And in each hand, he has a bayonet that has come disconnected from its gun. And it is clear that he has been using these bayonets for their intended purpose, but in the least intended way. And it dimly occurs to him that at least one of those dead Englishmen is dead by bayonet. Shit.
Oh, yes. How much of you is here? How much of you is your lie? What is the ratio of broken, empty void to British man?
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
He had such an easy time taking and building Lieutenant Ingalls, knowing his whole story, his parents, his siblings, his first love, and now he is here and everything is a red blur. And there is no echo in his head.
There is none.
There is no comfort behind this illusion. There is nothing. There is nothing.
It gave me goosebumps. Good job. The person you are wearing, the person you are wearing, the person you might be, the person you should be, you remember them dying, and you remember the soul escaping the body and you peeling pieces of it off, like a scavenger ripping flesh from the thigh of a dead animal and consuming it and them. And it was actually very nice, wasn't it? It's always fun to get a good feed in. As you find your senses, you do remember not exactly everything where you are, but as you look around you, you remember that maybe about a quarter of a mile in that direction. What direction is it? You don't know. The lie sun is obscured by smoke and cloud. It is a brutal slate gray. It is such a consistently miserable sky that it almost looks like a unfinished painting. It is like God painted hell and was too tired to finish the sky. You know there is a command structure that way, and what information you need might be there, or at the very least some way to contextualize this vile hellscape.
He turns in that direction, knee deep in the muck, and plunges both bayonets into the chest of a German soldier who is still breathing, because he shouldn't be anymore. And he keeps walking, slowly, laboriously, too slow. This isn't how he moves, stuck in the muck.
No. You know that all of this isn't real. You know in some way that the blood and the death and the shit and the boys that are too young to shave, screaming and trying to hold their guts in aren't real. But you can't do the thing. That knife edge mirror twist of perspective that reminds you that this isn't real. You are not sure if it is, and it feels very real. The texture in the air, the taste of aerosolized corpse and the explosives that made them that way is rich on your tongue with the same unctuous texture of some of the richest foods.
He gives half a thought to removing his tongue and suddenly remembers that he needs it for some reason.
It is talking meat. You need to be able to talk because how does it feel to know that you have to talk with writhing meat instead of speaking to the greatest of all things with your heart?
They're all so small. They're so small, and look at everything they've done. They are changing the topography of their world with this bloodshed. They are moving hills into valleys and valleys into hills, and they have no idea what this will mean.
And tell me, Ishim, how does that feel?
Lost.
Yeah. The journey to the command structure takes little time. Or it might have taken forever.
His legs are tired. His arms are tired. This body is so tired.
You can feel the toxins building up in your muscles. You do not know the words. The words lactic acid do not exist in your mind as a reference, but you can feel the poison that is exhaustion building in your body. These sharp little invisible crystals that just tell you to lay down. It will be okay.
There is such a burning desire to explode this illusion, to leave it in pieces the way all of these humans have left each other in pieces. But he doesn't understand where that thought's coming from or what it means. Like the tongue. He needs his tongue.
Yeah. It almost felt intrusive in a way.
Mm-hmm.
An impulse. The command tent, or I'm finding the word, the command bunker is built into a trench. It has been reinforced with additional layers of wet, rotten, pressed board because this hell has gone on so long that they can't cut down enough trees to hold the trenches up. And there are little spots for men to stand and gaze across an empty, broken, rotten piece of dirt and kill about it. And each one of these boards, each one of these extra pieces, because you can see in this place the additional layers that were put into it, the buttressing pieces, the joints, the labor that was put into keeping this spot up and intact and functional. There is a piece of this human you aren't that can do the mental math about how many feet of trench could have been reinforced with this. How many of your boys didn't have to drown in crawling rat liquid shit as the trench collapsed?
He looks at one of those guard posts, and it takes him a second to realize that there is still half a person there. His top half is gone, but his legs are improbably still standing at attention. And his belt is still there. And so Lieutenant Ingalls takes his pistol and puts it in his own holster. Because survival instinct is strong. And that seems like a reasonable thing to do when someone isn't going to use it anymore.
No, they certainly aren't. And yours is missing. You have a holster, there are so many things about you that are empty vessels absent of the thing that makes them useful. And even though you cannot fill yourself the same way you did this little piece of dead skin, the fact that you have married shape and utility in this small way is deeply soothing.
He looks at his grimy nails that are so short. And though those confuse him for a moment. And he shakes that intrusive thought off too, and continues into the bunker.
The bunker is not empty. The bunker has a living being in it. There are many, many unliving beings in this room, though. Another burst of destructive madness has erupted into this room. It is almost worse than the place where you found yourself, because you were at least open to the sky. This little, like, 10 by 10 cell, this communal cenotaph is splattered in a horrific evenness of gore. And there is a piece of you that looks, let's talk about that in a minute. Let's tell you what you really see before you understand what it means. There is a table laid out. It was, much like you, it was a beautiful thing. Handcrafted, a perfection of form, now defiled by the place where it was. Somebody has taken a beautiful piece of hardwood furniture, probably from one of the small local towns, and brought it down here and used it for their planning table. A family heirloom degraded to footstool for hell. The maps on it are as clean as anything else you've seen here, which will aid you. But the walls are splattered with gore. And there is a heartbreak in the corner with its fingers digging into the eye sockets of a freshly severed head, flexing the muscles of its shoulders underneath its uniform, pulling with that kind of relentless predatory strength of a bear tearing open a log full of beehive to reach the sweet delicacies within. And it is you call it heartbreak because a infinitesimal eon ago, you would have seen them and known their name and known their voice and their song and their place and the way they were loved differently, but the same way you were loved, and how you two could have merged together to achieve some kind of a goal. And now it is just a thing that you don't know how to talk to.
And if anyone else had walked into the bunker at that moment, there probably would be more of a reaction. But maybe Lieutenant Ingalls is just too tired, or maybe a part of him still recognizes what he is seeing and what he is seeing beyond what he is seeing. But he wearily draws himself up to attention and snaps a salute and says, "Captain."
It pauses, not in the delicate way of a human being going, I must finish my task, I must put a thing down. The thing that the meat and the soul that you're wearing wanted to see desperately, like the touch of a lover, wanted to see the ritual behavior of placing down cup and saucer. It craved that dose of normalcy like a drug. And so instead, when it does a carnivore's freeze and drops the head and runs its fingers through its hair and greases its hair back with a combination of hair oil and corpse fat, and it stands and returns the salute, and in this rattling voice that is this voice is a voice that is made out of the scar tissue of screaming until you can't scream anymore. And it says, in a British way I will not attempt to emulate, Lieutenant, at ease, please. And it is under control in a way. Its hands are moving in that kind of thoughtless, grabby way, and it keeps drawing your attention because there's something wrong with their hands. They are inadequate. And it says, "Where are your men?"
All gone, sir. All of them, I think. And you were too much of a coward to die with them? Or do you need someone else to do it for you? And in that moment, he should feel fear. And instead, he says in a language he doesn't understand, "My beloved, who are we?" And he knows that he refers to all of his kin as such. Not his mother, not his father. No. Who are his beloveds? You're not sure, but you know that there are thousands of them. And you know that as long as you kept razoring them into thrices, there would be a perfect number of them. And that you spent many, many timeless nights and days watching these thrices dance and multiply and shape themselves
in your mind, the Fibonacci sequence is him and seduction. The word that it uses at you is a brutal, violent word. It is an angry word. It is not a word used by yours. It is a borrowed word. It is a word that was taken from another circle of beloveds. And it evokes, both in definition and in sound, the wet, woody thunk of metal striking flesh, specifically of tumbling sharp metal striking flesh. What he has said, what it has said, what they have said, is that when you said, "What are we, my beloved?" he has said, "We are shrapnel."
At that point, Lieutenant Ingalls' legs give out, and he drops to his knees, and he doesn't know if it's exhaustion or despair that has placed him there. But he puts both hands on the wet, red dirt and heaves a sob that is almost inhuman.
There are sobs that reach down all the way down into your stomach, into your guts, and pulls out your pain and throws it into the air in front of you. And this is one of those noises. It is the kind of sob that that should not be by itself. It should be accompanied by more sobs. It is the sound of a dam breaking. Do more come out with it, or do you just manage to relieve that tiny bit?
Just the one.
Just the one.
Because in the trenches, we are still men.
The captain starts coming over, and when he moves his hand, you can hear a wet, flinty razor noise. The sound of Stone Age communal murder as his fingers move, and he comes over and he starts in this other language and ends in the Queen's English. Do not worry, I love you too much to let you feel this way. The captain is coming to end this.
It is the first moment of relief that the lieutenant has felt since all of this began. And there is a part of him that is frightened, that wants to give in to its survival instinct and run. But what actually happens is he reaches one hand and he looks up as if to take his beloved's hand in gratitude. But he can't wipe that look of confusion off his face. Nothing makes sense. And it feels like just moments ago, everything made sense. Everything.
The captain takes your hand, and it is with the gentility of a lover administering euthanasia that hand is taken. and his hand reaches back and the lies around it start to twist, the first time that the lieutenant has seen this in this new world. And they peel away from a murderous, terrible claw. And you know that when that thing touches you, not only is it going to take you away, it is going to take you away. And then, blowing through the trench, almost like a physical wind, it blows against your back and your neck, and it sings into you, not with words, but with a ascending set of notes, the impulse of no, not here, not now, I need you. Don't give up. Don't give up. Not even giving you reason to feel anything about yourself, but just a song, a crescendo of don't go, I need you.
That hand reaching up suddenly becomes a scrabble as Ingalls uses the captain, draws himself up to his full height, which is almost a full head taller, and he takes the captain's face in his hands as tenderly as a lover, which is how these beloveds always are towards one another, and says, no, not yet, not yet. Come with me.
It is when you touch your beloved's stubbled cheeks sunken in, you can feel the places under their skin where the flesh of vigor and good feeding has dripped out of their body like dirt underneath concrete. And it looks in your eyes, and you realize in that moment, Ingalls, that the wind was only for you. And that whatever sang into you passed your beloved by. It is still full of nihil and empty and void.
His hands shift ever so slightly to cup closer under the chin. And then claws go through the captain's brain and out the other side.
Let's see if that happens. Let's roll do a violence.
Let's do a violence.
Engage in combat. That's what it sounds. That's what we call it when the humans do it. Do ourselves a whole ass murder. You're going to be rolling at +2.
22.
What? Okay, fine. Please continue with your descriptive prose, Samara. 1,000 pardons for the interruption, please.
Yes, excuse you. I'm doing a dramatic violence. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And just as quickly as they appeared, those claws are gone. And Lieutenant Ingalls opens his hands as if blowing rose petals from his palms and lets the captain's body fall to the ground. And it was a mercy. It was the mercy that the captain would have shown him. But it needed to be this way and not that. It needed to be this way.
It had to be. And in the death of one of your almost infinite, but oh, such a reducing number of beloveds, you get a sense of the death of a maybe. There is a path that this empty-eyed, brain-eating beloved could have gone. A beautiful path of love and rotten, radiant acceptance. But that is not your wind, that is not your song. But you could be dragged to it, should enough heavy, illusory hands pull you towards that other place.
He bends down to one knee and closes the captain's eyes. And then stands, fighting the screaming in his limbs every time he moves them, and turns to exit the bunker. He doesn't know where he needs to go, but he knows he needs to go. Someone needs him.
The map table. There were maps in that room, references. The latitude and longitude of useful lies.
He whirls, as if seized by a momentary madness or mad genius, and bends over the table, looking at all the different lines and reading them like a tapestry.
I want you to roll plus soul. I want you to roll at a +3. As we invent a character sheet on the fly.
Yes, we do.
We've never done before.
That is a 14.
14, good. The first thing that you notice, Lieutenant, is it is not even a conscious thought. It is that kind of information that an infinitude of experience gives you. The way a mechanic can place their hand on a car they've maintained before and feel the way something is knocking, or the way you can feel when your beloved isn't home when you get there when they should be. The half-corpse standing up as if there to provide you with a firearm. The explosive carnage of the once captain exploding into psychic shrapnel. But somehow, around and on these maps, there is nothing. The room is literally dripping with gore. And all of these maps are, we won't go so far as to say immaculate. Immaculate is a word that has no place in these trenches. And so when we say appreciably clean, we say that there are old blood stains, old filth stains, that there are drink rings, and the spots where tubular packaging has failed in interesting Rorschach ways as the map was unrolled. So they are not perfect, but they are intensely legible. There's information here, but it's not the information on the map that is what you need. The map is just a way of interfacing with the world. You need to do something else. There's something else you should be doing right now to rip truth out of this ridiculous piece of lie. What do you think you should do, Lieutenant, in this moment to find your little North Star of information?
He finds one of the lines on the map like a line on a hand in palmistry. And with
Okay.
one nail, he digs that line out. He tears it, tiny, tiny, thin line. He tears the entire battle line out of the map, and he eats it.
Transubstantiation is a weird religious belief. It is intensely debated amongst the parts of the Christian sects that believe in it or almost believe in it. It is an intensely strange conversation, but at the end of the day, it is the belief that you consume a symbol and in return are fed with the truth, with the real thing. And while we use the word transubstantiation, this is not the same thing that is sliding down your throat. This is the underlying knowledge, the little woven pieces of death and mayhem that are that piece of the world that you just ate. And you are struck with a flash of memory or inspiration, or maybe it's a promise, but it is a beautiful laughing moment. You are laughing, and as you laugh, you feel the blood in your mouth kind of do a little bit of a bubble as this innocent, like, delighted guffaw comes out of your mouth. And there are others of your beloveds there, and there are cousins there of other choirs, and there is across from you. And they have told the joke, and they laugh, and you don't even get the joke because it is too many layers even for you to understand. But you laugh because they are feeling joy and you love them. It is intrusive.
It's beautiful.
It is forceful. It is amazing. And as evocative and powerful the across from you is, there is something at your feet that was as beautiful and evocative as, but different. They are dead or dying, and you are feasting on their sweetmeats. And holds out a kidney to you. Beautiful, perfect, swollen with a voluptuousness that is inappropriate for internal organs. And there is a lump on top of it of human suet, some of the purest and richest fat. And this is where the lieutenant starts. Sorry, I'm American. Where the lieutenant starts screaming and trying to fight your mind for control, the shards of it reaching out to grab you. And because the lieutenant, his mom made him pies with suet. And he remembers the kidney and the white bloom of fat on top of it. And this is a sense memory and a love memory, and the fact that is offering it to you just like this. The lieutenant knows that it is a treat, it is a gift, it is a special thing given to a special thing. And it howls inside of you in rejection of the usurpation of his own memory. Because the thing that is feeding you that kidney and this thought has taken some of it from the lieutenant.
At that moment, the lieutenant both hands on the table to steady himself as if he is reading the war map intently, and he is laughing, sobbing, laughing, crying, weeping, laughing. And it is both, and it is everything, and it takes an eternity to get it out. And it feels like he is laughing and he is crying for the rest of forever. And it is Lieutenant Ingalls, and it is that which became Lieutenant Ingalls, and it is loneliness, and it is a cure for loneliness, and it is home, and it is away, and it is despair, and it is hope, and it is laughing, and it is sobbing until it is over. And when the tears clear from his eyes, he traces the line that he had torn from the map. And he sets out towards his goal.
He very much so does. The specifics of this journey we shall leave vague, as the latitude and longitude of where the lieutenant has begun and where they hope to finish are profoundly unimportant. Because they're fucking lies. And most of the travel is within the context of the horrors of the environment, uneventful. But let us take a moment and ponder the shelling, the artillery, the climbing over the collapsed pieces of trench, the pausing and pressing himself up against the wall around a corner because he knows the sound of the whistle that means that a charge is being called. And while the idea of throwing himself into a piece of beautiful, mindless instinct carnage has its fingers on his chin like a lover pulling him into a kiss, he cannot, because he has somewhere to go. And so when we return from vagueness to specificity, the reason we do that is the very faint murder scent of mustard gas. It is only with the sharpened senses of what you were that gives you the ability to sense the faintness of it. In this moment, you have to reckon with the fact that you know that you survived potential death because you are not human. but you have to take that and fit that inside your human thoughts.
He doesn't have a gas mask.
No, he doesn't.
Maybe all the cans are bad.
Maybe they are. Maybe there's choke on your own liquidized lungs sitting just over there between you and what you don't know but what you crave.
No, it's British countryside air made them strong.
Did it now?
Which is odd because the rest of his unit was from the same village. None of them are here anymore, but he is. It must be some genetic quirk, in as much as he knows about genetics.
My family's always been strong, good lungs, good runners. Even my grandfather, 60 years old, never had to travel anywhere for better air.
Never once.
So I'm going to ask you to make a I have no idea what the fuck, oh shit, there's mustard gas roll is. Feel like that not being explicitly laid out in the move chart, I feel like is a failure of writing.
Oh yes, certainly.
Yeah. How about we act under pressure? So
that seems reasonable.
Yeah, on a scale of -2 to +2, what do you think overall the lieutenant's coolness would be?
He has been extremely cool under pressure. He is a decorated officer who has led his men to victory many a time.
I love it. So roll with that +2. Let's see what we get.
I will. Well, that's an 8.
Is that an 8?
Sure is.
I love that for you.
Gosh.
And so, in an aside, the specific good chemicals of circular narratives, you go around the corner thinking about the fresh air and how you will be fine, and clearly it is not that bad, when a canister of mustard gas only 10 feet away from you, half buried in the mud, it is a war is such a mayhem of probability. And in this moment, those infinity of chances reaches out and slashes you across the face with choking death. And maybe had you been less obsessed with telling yourself that you'll be fine, you might have spent more time looking for what you didn't see, but you are unprepared to move quickly enough. And so you are hit with a full, theoretically lethal dose of mustard gas.
He falls to his knees, coughing and choking, and it would be a scream if there was room in him to scream. and something shifts inside him, and it hurts deep in his body and somewhere beyond his body. And then there is a reversal, and it feels like a furnace is burning away the gas from inside him and burning him in the process, and he doesn't understand what it is, but it feels like burning, different burning, but it is not the burning of the mustard gas. And he still has lungs, and he still uses his lungs, and it tastes like mustard gas and it smells like mustard gas, but it's burning itself away inside him, and he doesn't understand. But a part of him understands, but he doesn't understand. And he has to go. He has to go.
He has to go. And how does the bullet through the brain thought of this is what I would have done to David were he with me today feel?
Like a lightning strike.
Does the
But a
lieutenant
lightning
know David?
strike that leaves no mark. No evidence that it was coming, no evidence that it was ever there. But the name David is important.
David. Something wrong with that name. It's just
David.
a little bit wrong, a little bit off.
David's. Davidim. David's. He has to go.
We have to go. We have to go. And it is with the mantra of I have to go being mouthed through lips that should be melting, through skin that should be blistering, chanted with lungs that should be wet, rotten slabs of flesh, does the lieutenant walk through a cloud of mustard gas. It feels like a cleansing. There is something so beautiful and perfect about being swathed in lethality. It is in your clothes now. It is in your hair. It is in your opened pores. It is in your facial hair, or are we a clean-shaven man?
We are a clean-shaven man.
We are a clean-shaven man.
Most of the other officers go the mustache route, but not us.
That's fine. Mustaches are for people that don't have a strong enough nose and lip.
Indeed. The look on his face, some might say it looks like shell shock. Some might say it looks like madness, but no one in this cloud is looking at him.
No.
Many of them aren't capable anymore.
No. On the very edge, on the other edge, as you pass through this chasm of death, on the edge, on that terrible spot where it kills you for damn sure, but it takes a lover's patient time to do so, there is a lad. He's too goddamn young to be a man. boy in the flat hat and the if you could take and create a composite image of the generation that died in these trenches, it would look very much like this boy. His skin is damaged, and you can see some of the ejecta from his lungs. He's going to die, Lieutenant Ingalls, but he is going to take a very long time to do so. And he is sitting down, and he is trying to breathe, and you can watch his body twitch as the urge to breathe, to exchange oxygen for carbon dioxide, to continue the machines of living, is wrestling with the inevitability of the damage. And he leans back and he presses his hand into his chest in that can't fix it, but I want to push on it sort of way that sometimes you do when the hurt is too deep. And he looks at you and he says, "Take me with you, please." I want to go.
And that gets through to him. And he pauses and blinks. What can he see beyond what's there? Or is this boy just a boy?
He's just a kid. He's just a human that shouldn't be here.
The lieutenant bends down on one knee. And he looks at the boy with vague, almost incomprehension that this is a being, that this is a boy, just like one of his boys. And he smiles at him, and it is an angelic smile. And he puts his hand on the boy's face. And then those claws come out. And the boy is dead.
And the boy is dead. But that's okay, though. Because this is just meat. The meat doesn't matter. The delicious parts, the important parts, you can feel them slipping through your fingers like if you held your hands under a waterfall. And you can feel that beautiful, clean coldness run through your fingers. And it is the closest thing to clean your hands have felt in a very long time, but you can feel the boy leave the meat.
And Lieutenant gets up and keeps walking.
Yes, he does. I think that is a perfect spot for us to take our midstream pause and to gather ourselves, because I'm not going to lie, this is a heavy episode. So it's about 9:30. We'll be back probably around 9:40, 9:45. Let's all go make some fucking pizza rolls and go hug a cat or something, and then we will
I have one right on my lap.
Good job. You're ready.
She
You
hasn't
brought your
showed up
safety
on
mechanics with
stream,
you.
so you can't have the bingo yet, but I'm sure she
Yeah.
will.
Yes. Please bring your
If I
safety
try and
mechanics with you
if I
at all
try and
times.
pick her up, she'll get mad at me. So
That's fine. I get mad when people try to pick me up too. All right. So we will see you in a few minutes, guys. Welcome back. Let's get to it. when you left the boy behind, well, when you freed the boy and left the meat behind, it felt like freedom a little bit. It felt good, but in a way that is strange. It felt like making sure one of your favorite belongings made it to the right person ahead of time. And that was nice. But in another quiet period, another psychically quiet but viscerally horrifying bit of travel, and when we once again return to the granular, now something interesting is happening. And in this moment, Lieutenant Ingalls, you are back against the trench wall, possibly sharing. I speak English real good. I just did it for a while.
I heard it.
Yeah, I know. Everybody was there. They saw it. Your back is against the wall of the trench, and a cigarette is being offered to you by a grizzled sergeant who's got, a dozen lads under his care, and he has kept them alive so far. Part of that because he is aggressively blunt with every single piece of the command structure he encounters. And so when the lieutenant returns to themselves, he is telling you that the Prussian counteroffensive and the resultant shelling has caused a significant collapse in the trenches. They had good luck or bad luck, depending on which side of this you're on. And if you want to get to the place where you're going, if you want to get to that place, if you want to see again, you're going to have to go over the wall. You're going to have to cross no man's land. And he sure as hell is not sending his boys to die for you about it. Because he's done this for too long. He's killed too many people. And he knows what someone going off for their own goals looks like. And he knows that there's some part of you that is not right now fighting for country, might be fighting for a queen. We haven't decided yet. But are you willing?
I shall crawl there on my hands and knees if I have to, sir.
And he well, you're going to have to crawl on your hands and knees, or you're going to run out of knees and have to use your fingers. And he gives you a very brief, Ben is not a historian, set of instructions on how not to get the hell killed out of yourself in one of the most deadly pieces of land in one of the most deadly moments in world history. And however, what he does is pulls a flask out, offers you a flask, and coming down the trench. Let's have an interesting moment. Coming down the trench with the stole around their shoulders and a book wrapped in oilcloth in their hands is a chaplain. And he stops and stares at you with an inscrutable expression in his eyes, almost accusatory.
And Lieutenant Ingalls grins at him.
The accusation turns to the very worst thing that could ever happen to a faithful person is to find out that God is real. And that is not what happened to this man in this moment, but he felt the passage of something greater than him. The way a large animal moves through water, the water pressure of something unknowable and cyclopean. And it is not what he wished to feel the touch of. But you need to get up over that wall or this man is going to cause you a problem.
Lieutenant takes a swig from the flask, gives it back to the sergeant, shoots him a proper salute, and with an inhuman level of alacrity, leaps up out of the trench and onto the flat ground.
Well, let us agree, Lieutenant, that you leapt out of the trench. Let us discuss the place where your feet found purchase. You are standing now on a vast metal road. It is difficult for your senses to grasp, much like the way if you stare at a computer screen or something close, in my case, machine tools all day, and you look up and you gaze out a window into something very distant, there's that spot where your eyes physically and your brain struggles to recontextualize its ability to see things. You have not had cause to look beyond a trench or a no man's land for such a period of time that the labor mentally of trying to encompass something that is not that landscape is a terrific struggle. You do, however, manage it, but there is another war, and you are fairly certain that the sergeant who saluted you with vigor and true respect, he doesn't know what you're doing, but he knows when someone's willing to die for it, and he respects that. You knew that he wouldn't have sent his boys up behind you, but there are the thundering of feet behind you, but sometimes it is the wrong rhythm. Sometimes it is 2 feet, sometimes it is 2 hands and 2 feet in a imperfect but terrifyingly efficient impersonation of a quadruped. And you hear there is a very distinct sound when a bipedal angel uses their wings as a support. They are not flying, but they are running, they are galloping, they are moving very fast. And so that feathery wind grabbing noise is like, if someone looked at you and said, "Tell me a secret only an angel knows," that sound is one of those secrets. The sound that an angel makes when they grab air to maneuver. And you hear it behind you, and you are now back in no man's land. And there is barbed wire that has lacerated your skin through your uniform, and there is wet somehow granular mud in one of your boots, and you are moving and you hear screaming in another language, and you are in the other place again, and you are slamming into a door and clawing at it and cackling and howling with transcendent joy, knowing that what you're doing is going to be so much fun. That wasn't right. It wasn't fun. It was joyous, maybe. It was glorious. It was necessary.
It was fulfilling.
It was fulfilling, but it wasn't fun. Didn't tell you to do that for fun. There was no joy in these moments. These were moments of power. And you stumble, and something grabs your foot, and another thing grabs your thigh, and you are pulled down. And and you say words that no one has probably ever said before. Oh, good. I'm back in a trench. And there are other uniforms here. These are no longer British uniforms. They are not French uniforms. They are Prussian uniforms. You know this on an instinctual level because it is the shape and silhouette and the... No, wrong word. Not caste markings, but somehow, yes, but you know that these symbols are the symbols of enemy in this moment. And they are yelling at you in a language that you only know a few words of, but somehow you are hearing enough of it. Oh, Kitty. Yeah, everyone gets... Yes, fine. Everyone gets a free no prize if they finish their bingo card, by the way. So
Yeah.
They're screaming at you, and when you and then finally there is a moment where almost a physical strike of context enters into your mind, and now you understand the intent of the words. You do not know the way the syntax is assembled. You do not know the rules of German speaking, but you understand what they're saying. They are saying, how many of them are you? Tell us and we will let you surrender, is essentially what they're saying. They're saying, if you are by yourself, whatever you're trying to do didn't work, tell us how many there are, tell us who you are, and we will let you surrender.
And what he does, he only understands because that grin has a hint of madness to it.
Okay.
He does a objectively beautiful pirouette. And his wings, his 2, 4, 6 wings that are feathers but are also blades, become that whirling dervish. And those Germans are dead.
And when you set the boy free from the lie, at least for a period of time before he is forced back in here, and you felt the coolness of his existence, of his soul slide through your fingers, it was almost a comfortable feeling. You understood that at the end of the day, what you're doing was mercy. And when that same semi-metallic glacial coolness threads its way between your feathered blades, your bladed feathers, it is like they are being cleaned. It is like there is rust being removed from them. And it is good.
It feels like it's been 1,000 years and only a moment, and it is a connection to something eternal and turning a page in a book. And yet, that feeling becomes muted again as reality takes back over, or something akin to reality, because the Lieutenant Alexander Ingles' grasp on the illusion has cracked.
Absolutely.
And the reality that he returns to is still a through the looking glass level of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And when he refocuses, looking at this pile of dead Germans or Prussians, he notices a poppy. That's funny. Those are used to make opium, you know.
This is possibly the first time that you have ever seen a poppy. At least that you can remember in your shredded memory. And you remember remembering this moment. It is a weird, distant cousin of deja vu. It is not, I am experiencing this again, I am experiencing a moment that I have a memory of. Because you have this now, and then you have it later with the tone of age on it. And that is very strange. And as the illusion pushes back against you, and as your wings articulate themselves out of now and into maybe, you realize that the illusion has experienced a warp around you. These Germans that were just a few moments ago screaming at you are dead, but they have been dead now for weeks. Putrescence has occurred. Desiccation has occurred. One of them, and the one that grabs your attention now for its symmetrical brightness, there is a poppy, and then there is this other thing, and they are the only things that are remotely bright colors in this place. In the ruptured bowels mixed with the shredded flackboard of the trench, and as we all know, mushrooms love nothing more than manure and mulch. And there are several varieties. Some of them are absolutely not local, but the one that gets you, the one that grabs your attention is, well, tell me about the mushroom that grabs your attention, Lieutenant.
Amanita muscaria is the quintessential mushroom that people think of when they think dangerous mushroom. It has a white base and a red cap with white speckles upon that cap. And years, I'm trying to be dramatic. And years from now, people will wonder if consuming this mushroom gave ancient peoples all over the world the concept of religion, that it was handed down via the entheogen hallucinogen of Amanita muscaria. It's not a respected theory, but it is a theory.
It is a theory.
It is a theory. And Lieutenant Alexander Ingalls looks at the mushroom for a long time, or maybe just a moment, or a long time. And he looks at the poppy. And he looks at the mushroom. And he picks both. He plucks the mushroom from its corpse. And he stuffs the entire thing in his mouth. And it doesn't matter what it tastes like because it's a lie. And he eats the entire thing. And then he looks over at the poppy. And suddenly the poppy has been there for weeks and it has gone to seed. And that's the important thing. And he takes that seed pod and he eats that too. And he has to go because he's almost there.
It is. You are almost there. And how lovely is that? And how sad are these shriveled, decrepit creatures? These things that they have to eat shit fruit to meet God when you don't talk to him anymore. This isn't funny anymore.
He has to go.
You have to go. The transition from front lines to behind the front lines is smooth and almost invisible, but somehow leaps up on you with the savagery of an attacking tiger, because the green hurts. The color of the grass is too grassy, and the flowers are too yellow and red. And the trees have too many leaves, and the air, you can still smell what is behind and in front of you, but it feels almost like how dirty must you be, how filth-stained must your psyche be when the scent of clothes washing, of the scent of powdered soaps and linens and water is the intrusive scent.
And a word unbidden bubbles up in his mind, and it is Elysium. And he doesn't know what it means yet, but he lets out a laugh that is like a rifle crack. And he keeps going because he has to go.
There is nothing in your way. Since the first moment when you came to so empty and forgotten and severed, you feel like there is nothing in your way. And the wind blows and the scents fill your nose. And there is the beginning of tactile sensations starting to damage your lie, but not in terms of damaging your body, but in filling you with things that you know are not connected to this facade you're traveling to. There are caresses. There are playful bites that are a little bit too much. Kind of like watching big cats court. And there is a drawing forward. Now, instead of the wind at your back like it was with the captain, now it is almost in front of you, creating a vacuum. It is making an open space in the world in front of you for you to travel through.
The lieutenant is whistling to himself. And it is somewhere in Lieutenant Ingalls' memory. It is a tune he heard in church as a boy. It's not a particularly good tune, because none of the Church of England hymns are, let's be honest. But it's one he's known since he was a little boy. And he doesn't understand why that occurs to him just now. But it is jolly good. It is just right.
Is it just the music, or do the words come to mind?
I don't think he's thinking in English anymore.
No.
He's thinking in a language he doesn't know, that is much, much older and not spoken by the tongues of men.
Mm-hmm. Some sort of Sanskrit glossalia. And perhaps in these moments where the world twists itself into the shape that it need, when creatures and reaches into the world and puts their fingers in the sourdough and kneads it and warps it and twists it to match what they want, there is always ripples. And so when the jaunty tune comes to an end, and if I can add a small piece with the whistling ending in a very basso impersonation of a stand organ.
Yeah.
That kind of ba-ba-ba-ba. And right as the song ends and the lieutenant's heels click together and he arrives, he is staring at the end of the road. He is staring at a cute little church. It's not C of E, this is France, but a cute little church nonetheless. And here you are. You are here, and here is where you are, and you are here, and none of this is real.
And The lieutenant has a feeling in the back of his mind like his father left to go to the store and never came back. But his mother never left and always waited for him. And a lover who's waiting for him back home. Lieutenant Alexander Ingalls' father never abandoned the family. He and his mother are happily married in their village. He has no photo of a woman on the inside of his coat. None of this is real. But he knows those feelings deep within him. And he pauses for a moment before he opens the door to the church, as if the anticipation is more terrifying than the knowing. And then he opens the door.
The door opens, and with it, the illusion unfolds. The door opens, and at the beginning of the sound, it is the kind of click-clack, creak, perfect village church door noise that would make a Foley man drop to his knees and weep at the absolute perfection of that noise, knowing that they will never be able to recreate it again. But that is only the beginning of it, and the increase, the up-pitching of the noise follows the sound of that calling music that kept you alive just a little bit of forever ago. And then there is a moment where the door turns into a sound like carapace being pulled from the unstructured wetness underneath it. And then that sound gives way to the grind of black basalt on black basalt, of a door that has been carved from a piece of stone, and the pivot is that same stone, and it is all that rich grinding noise. And you know, because you remember, because you were there, that you used to stuff finger bones in the bottom of this door and let them grind to powder. And is there. And so many of your beloveds are here. They are naked. But let us be clear, let us recall that the Ishim are often unclothed. But unclothed is different than naked. And these beloveds are naked. They are exposed. They are not just simply free of trappings. They are in some way uncleanly exposed. There's something off about them. And they have blood on their mouths and blood on their fingers. And you can see the smeary handprints on their 2, 4, 8, 16 wings. And you can see where they have caressed each other, and you can see a bloody handprint on a belly, and you know that the only way a bloody handprint goes on that belly in that way is if they have been sleeping together, wrapped together, because that is the only time that a hand has that particular angle on the abdomen of another body, and you are working your way up to being able to perceive in all of their glory. Because you only get to feel this once. You only get to see them for the first time once. This is the only time that you will ever get to have her look at you for the first time. And she is beautiful. She is not the beauty of fragile royal princesses kept and put up and locked away like a banknote to be traded for appropriate business ventures. She is beautiful the way the muscles of a tiger's legs are beautiful. She is beautiful the way psychoactive mushrooms twist and grow in an abandoned hospital beautiful. She is a presence. She shrinks away from nothing. She takes up. She does not take up space. She claims her environment. She is not forcing other people out of the way for her to exist. She is conquering everything around her. Her body is smoothly muscular. And the way she is built is not... It is in some ways, one could argue, unpretty, in that the way she is muscular is the muscles of a body that will use every single muscle fiber. There is no aesthetic shaping here. This is something that has made itself take a form of absolute perfect function. And where there is perfect function, there is perfect form. And her skin is dusky. The way clean dirt looks when anointing oils drip off of your head and onto the ground in front of you as you kneel. It is that rich brown, and she turns, and her hair is not wild, but it is fresh and vibrant, and it makes you distinctly aware of the way you have used filth to force your own hair out of your eyes. And her eyes are gold and brass. They are a mokume game of power and glory and howling, joyous, ecstatic madness. The kind that says, "Come with me. We have flax golden tales to spin." And the smile that she gives you is the smile you've needed since the day you were made. When God made you, he did not know what he was doing, but he made you to be here in this moment and to be smiled at by in a little church in France.
The beloved creature that is Lieutenant Alexander Ingalls suddenly realizes everything they want and everything they want to be and everyone they want to be and every true form that they were ever meant to take. And as he stares slack-jawed at the presence before him, he reaches up and he starts clawing at his face, tearing skin, tearing through muscle, cracking open bone, removing all that was Lieutenant Alexander Ingalls. And when that lie is gone, this beloved creature has chosen her form. And she wants only to be here in this moment, to be with her, to be her, to emulate her, to feel the completeness that is being here with her.
And Malkuth, the 10th Archon, smiles at the Red Lady. And that smile is full of the curling teeth of a devil mask and the infinity of shredding of shark's teeth and the beautifully imperfect smile of a lover in that cheap hotel one night. And Malkuth says to you, "You are the last one to arrive, but you are the first one to be."
And I am here, as I shall always be.
And now I am complete by you completing yourself. And let us celebrate our own perfections by bringing an end to my brother that these humans have so taxed. My lady, my beloved, come with me. Be by my side as we dash ourselves against the walls of Hod's Citadel. Bleed with me. Break with me.
The face she makes in that moment is ecstasy, is almost pornographic. But there is a nagging feeling in the back of her mind.
That's not what she said.
And this bloody figure, wearing nothing but the remains of Lieutenant Alexander Ingalls, spreads her wings and looks at Malkuth, who is her everything, for a long moment that is eternity and is nothing. And says, no.
There is a pain inside you that warns you of the way you are going to feel if you finish this rejection. Not Malkuth looks at you and raises her perfect, wild eyebrows and smiles at you with her head tilted slightly down, because no matter what shape you take, Malkuth is always just a little taller. And smiles at you and gives you that face that says, but you can be here with me. Just accept the lie. This Malkuth knows that they are a lot, but they offer you a comfortable one. You could go and you could die with this not Malkuth on the walls of Hod's Citadel. And everything that happened after that moment wouldn't have to happen.
The Red Lady looks at the not Malkuth and says, I have to go. And she reaches forward with all of her wings that are no longer bird wings, but they move with an extra limb, an extra joint like bat wings, and she walks along all 6 of them faster than any creature could normally move, and she launches herself on her wings at Malkuth and tears into her.
And at that moment of contact, you are tumbling down a hill, down a rocky, dry hill, and you are feeling a desert brush lash your back as you tumble, as Malkuth is now this spindly, frail thing of too many limbs and not enough for her. And you are in the bottom of a dry riverbed, and there is a bony, over-articulated, not black-skinned like melanin, black-skinned like cursed, black-skinned like rot, black skin like mildew, black skin like that mold that grows after the bombs grow off at the proving grounds. And it hisses at you in abject primal terror. It is a ambush predator. It is a trap predator, and you are out of the trap, and it tries very hard to be scary. But what do you think of it right now?
It is already within its worst fate. It is lonely. And destroying its lie is a kindness. And with her claws and with the illusions of her wings, the Red Lady turns this little creature into a fine mist.
One of your favorite things about killing humans you don't like is that their souls leave and then they can come back later and you can find them and do it again. But the very nice thing about these non-human creatures, these reality effluvia like this, is that, oh, when they die, lady, they stay all the way dead the first time. And there is something satisfactory about the permanence of its education.
And in the moments after this thing has been erased, she allows herself just one sob.
Yeah.
Like Lieutenant Ingalls in the trench. Of that memory of that time of what was almost perfect. And she looks around and she can tell from the sun that several more hours have passed than what she meant. And she climbs out of the riverbed. Sitting right goddamn there is the truck she borrowed from Steven to run her last couple errands.
Yep.
And it's almost funny. She almost laughs. But she's too tired. That soul deep weariness that only comes from loneliness. And she drags herself to the truck and drives the relatively short distance back to St. Dymphna's.
Yeah. I want to look up when a song came out.
On the seat next to her are the last few supplies that she went out to get. Still there.
The radio turns itself on, but that's what kind of a fucking night it is. And while you aren't sure whether it's an anachronism, a echo from a future later than.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Echo stop.
Say that again?
You said the magic word.
I did. And the song, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, in its most plaintive, twangy old country way, crackles through the old radio.
In a fit of pique, claws extended, she tears off the radio from the dashboard and throws it out the window. And it dimly occurs to her that the creature that is Steven really liked that radio. And she may have to replace it. That's fine. This was worth it. To not have to hear that cosmic joke. She arrives at St. Dymphna's in silence. And picks up the bag. And that weariness has not left her. And she makes her way into her place of power, her new place of power. Her place.
David's look up at you, see that you have had an experience, looks in your eyes, and with that kind of camaraderie that isn't friendship, cracks an almost smile at you and says, "You look like shit." Did you get your spring water or bat's asshole or whatever else you needed?
Yes, I did. You're looking well.
You want to talk about it?
No.
Okay. Everything else is
You and I understand each other more than you know, Davids. Sweet hunter killer. I do hope someday we will find ourselves allied again.
Thank you for your help.
And for yours.
Thank you for only nuking me a little bit.
Just enough.
Just, yeah.
Shall we?
Be a damn fool thing to not do it now, will it? All right. She's all set up. She's in place. I did most of the work, but you told me to hold off on the big cuts.
Yeah.
But all the prep work is done. She's in place. She's not going anywhere.
Good.
I got that smudge off the lens. Sorry.
Perfectly fine. You were leaking a little bit of oil. Such things are to be expected.
I guess so.
And she leads the way into the ritual chamber, which is exactly what one would expect out of a ritual chamber. A large, complex sigil on the floor. Candles that weren't lit before, suddenly all light as she walks in, augmenting the ambient reddish glow of the phosphorescent mushrooms around the space. In the middle of that large sigil, a Fresnel lens 6 feet in diameter in a wooden frame that has tastefully been painted black, covering all the sigils and sigil work beneath. What a nice touch.
What an interesting choice.
On the front of the lens, secured via rope and nail, and vines, is a Bethany.
And a few brassy spikes that might look unpleasantly familiar.
out of the bag that the Red Lady is holding, she takes a small mortar and pestle. And she goes over to the far wall and she plucks one mushroom. She puts it in. And she goes through the motions of grinding up the mortar and the mushroom with the pestle. And she scoops it out onto her finger, this wet mushroom mush. And she goes over to the Bethany. And she holds it out. And the Bethany understands. She opens her mouth. And in a gesture that would be erotic under other circumstances, the Red Lady puts her fingers in Bethany's mouth and leaves this mushroom. And gives Bethany a little kiss on the forehead. And says, "Good girl." And she moves around to the back of the lens and allows David to begin the cuts.
And David's hunter-killer job's body, loyal manservant, first sworn, kneels down in front of a replica of someone that he used to be obsessed over, and extends green glass claws through his lie, the same color of the lens, and with careful, patient cuts bleeds out this thing that has the audacity to look like his Bethany.
And as he cuts, and as the Red Lady chants, the Bethany's eyes widen and begin to glow. That same green as the claws, the same green as the lens. A green that might, if everything is aligned just right, reach all the way to Metropolis.
As his work is done, he stands and, carefully ducking under and away from any sort of glow or a specific spot, goes to the corner and sets up what should be, in another circumstance, like a lounge corner. He has pulled a few chairs down and cleaned them up, and there is some ashtrays, a couple of decanters of alcohol. There is what looks suspiciously like heroin paraphernalia, and a few other little bits and bobs, some things for each of the 3 Van Horsts that he hopes desperately are coming home. And the last thing David is going to do in the Red Intermission is stand up, dust himself off, fix his tie, touch up his hair, put his hands behind his back, and stand at parade rest and wait for his masters to come home. What does the Red Lady do at the end of the Red Intermission?
When she has finished her chanting, she steps to the other side of the lens, across from where David's have set himself up. And she fights off that moment of pure exhaustion from the events of the day, from the events of the psalm, from the events of the past 30, 40 years, from the events of millennia. And she shakes out her feathers all the way through so she can stand at her tallest, her noblest, her most royal, so that she can greet her queen.
And that is where one curtain shall fall and another one will rise. And so ends the Red Intermission.